So we have to get our children as a habit to write more. Yes. Then comes the effect of dopamine not coming down and going up. Then the dopamine shifts from physiological to addictive. Then they want to do the same thing. So all addictions begin with the screen. When they are dopamine high, they move from DA1 to DA2. DA1 is physiological, DA2 is addictive. I had a bigger diagram of it. I'm trying to see whether... Yeah, anyway. So when they have shifted from DA1, do and let go, and DA2 receptor is activated, do the same thing again and again. So in their brain there's a do. So they get into gaming endlessly. Also with the screen, now we are supposed to think from our prefrontal cortex. The sound and the visual thing stimulates our temporal lobe. This is called the prefrontal lobe. That's where we think and do. Executive, empathic. I have it in a diagram. This is the one. Top-down regulation, that is think and do. Empathic, executive, reflective, creative, initiation, navigation, successful and conclusion, good reward. So you yourself are saying, well done, I must improve. That's how the brain must go. But when they are on the screen and responding to the screen, every digital game, screen gives the steps. You are a robot. Actually, you are not playing the screen. Screen is playing you. So they shift to bottom-up regulation because this, whatever the screen is saying, you are doing. And this becomes a habit. You react to anything. You are not thinking and doing. Then you go thrill-seeking. You become impulsive. You become inattentive. Increasingly, you are becoming very antipathic, and your reaction is always compromised. So their words begin to change, their language begins to change, and they are rude. To the sibling they are rude, and their common word is, I don't care. I don't care. If you say, darling, you have been on the screen for 3 hours. He will say, oh, rubbish, they'll growl like that. So I always tell parents, prevention is better than cure. If you are in the problem, that's where I see them, so dad and mom and the fellow sits in the middle. You have to own the problem and no scolding, because this generation will do tit for tat and they are ready for a fight. So you have to start a coaching thing, you have to learn it. And when they come to me, what happens is, it's always the mom who gives the telephone call to my secretary. So I have told the secretary, dad must come. I don't give interviews without dad. They can't book. And since I don't charge for this, generally when you are not on a commercial mode, they tend to listen. So when dad comes and sits for the first 5 minutes, he behaves as if this is not his problem. It is as if mother's problem. So somehow I engage him, I keep asking, what's your son's best subject, like that. And then I start drawing this diagram so that the son or the daughter is also looking and the dad is also learning. Generally, mom is all on the issue because she has been battling it by herself. So I draw this diagram and explain to them, when you're on the screen, you're not thinking and doing, screen is doing, and this will become a behavioral pattern. You are reflexive and not reflective. With any kid, about 30 to 35 minutes, talking the science in a way they can digest it, they come through. They will come up with different things, that angers they have had and so on. So, as it is now, then I give them a timetable. Waking up at least by 6 a.m. A lot of screen kids, they are up till 1, 2 in the morning and they get up at 10 in the morning. That's a horrible thing. So you have to get them to sleep by 11 at least. And when you have proper sleep, our brain does dream cycles. So the sleep goes, dreams for 15 minutes, no dreams for 15 minutes, like that. So that's called REM sleep, is dream sleep. Non-REM is no dream. Initially dreams are sort of not very nice, but you wake up with a good dream. If the child is waking up with a horrifying dream, that is because sleep has got disturbed with the digital screen. So you have to somehow restore the sleep pattern if the kid is to come out of inattention, bad study patterns. Then they get into obsessive compulsive behaviors. Now they are getting into suicide ideation. 30% of kids in Sri Lanka are on psychiatric drugs, because we have to teach our profession, which this is my article, research presentation to SLMA, and 2 articles SLMA newsletter has carried on how to manage the problem without giving drugs. But our doctors are used to prescribing. In this problem, if you prescribe, what's happening is already a dopaminergic brain, already neurochemicals are in all kinds of swings, will become worse by the external chemical you are giving, whatever the drug you are giving. There's a very short place for drugs. So my thesis was that over the last 20-30 years, ADHD, majority reason is screen effect, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. With the mother, even when the mother is pregnant and too much on the screen, it has an effect on the child's brain. Now, nobody knew this, because the kind of neurochemicals that are getting formed in her, the prostaglandins, there's a group of molecules called prostaglandins, they cross the fetal brain and will affect the brain of the little fellow, fetal brain, that he becomes jittery in the mother's womb also. And even when childbirth is to happen, the fellow is not popping out. People get obstructed labor because childbirth is such a coordinated maternal, hormonal, hypothalamus, pituitary thing. Her hypothalamus has also got excited by her digital life, gone wrong. And the little fellow, while in the brain, is suffering all these things with the mother's prostaglandin variations. So now it is generally known that a mother's digital life must be simple, not into listening all the time, and particularly violent movies, violent music and things like that will have an effect on the child. And then bonding through lactation, all that is important for him to be bonded. And then by 2-3 he's learning languages. Better you learn language, the smarter you are. No screen at all. So that's the effect of the screen, and what used to be the main content of my lectures, till the personality problems began to emerge. Is there anything else that you want to ask me to redirect me or whatever?
No. Once you
okay. So then, now we are faced with kids who look like ADHD, and then we have to tell the practitioners, please don't prescribe methylphenidate, Ritalin. Put them on to empathic learning therapy. Simply, it is the methodologies that the Montessori uses. So, before you go, you can go to our 3rd floor and see the kind of cut and paste and draw art and take aim with the carom board, table tennis. All that is good. Card games, puzzles, age-relevant puzzles. Our innovation was empathic motor therapy. That is, now as I said, their tracks are overly dopamine addicted. Then if they do small muscle fingers, toes exercises, as a little fellow does when he's crawling, climbing, matty molding and all that. So we have provided a thing called GARTS, that is Grips and Ropes Thrill Sport, GARTS, that's the acronym I coined. So that you will see what looks like is a 3,600 square feet area. That's our indoor thing here. We call it den and dare. Idea is dad comes and does this. So they are like from swing to sing, so they think it's thrilling. But in the process, they do it barefooted. So there are toes, sole, and hands and grip. The ropes are being gripped, and then they go to mid-level ropes. Then there are high-level ropes, which of course is with crash pads and harness and helmet and all that. So for about 40 minutes to 1 hour, then the climbing wall, they are all on their toes and fingers as they should have been when they were small. So because it's a thrill kind of thing, and then we arrange teams to come and do it, either schools or churches or Montessori's or whatever. So you put them into 3 groups and give marks and don't you know. We also have a outdoor center in Pamlugama Jayala, which is a 5-acre campus which has a larger grips and ropes area and mangrove area, then different things we have to innovate, which even corporate comes and does for team building. But our intention was school teams come, Raga or whatever, prefects come, that kind of thing. And I have called it empathic motor therapy, that they get back on empathy lines because they are now on dyspathy lines. So they don't like anything. I don't care, I don't want to. So they live in the minute. I can't even say they live in the hour, but there are so many TikTok influencers and all that. So empathic motor therapy, you have to get somehow convince the dad to come and do it with the son for 2-3 times a week at least. And if they can get about 21 days of that kind of hourly thing, you can get the fellow, even the worst kind of digital toxicity, you can get them out. Dad has to be motivated. Yeah, it's a thing like that. A grandfather or brother or someone has to come and do it with them.
And also, like how can parents basically identify that that their children needs this kind of?
One school will complain. This child is disturbing others. So now I do lectures for teachers. I tell them, look, no parent sits with a child for 40 minutes now. But you as class teacher or subject teacher will sit with the child for 40 minutes. So so parents blame the school blames the parents. Stop this. Work together with the reality of both parents are working and parents were negligent, whatever it is. A child will wait for 40 minutes in a class. So I tell teachers, so parents come and complain saying teachers are nasty, teachers are pulling up, and teachers will complain saying the fellows are impossible. Our throat is hoarse, we are tired. So what I told the teachers is, say a class of 35, group them into 7s and find a child who is a little more relational and let that child be like an unofficial monitor. You meet with that child, those 5, once a day and say, how is your group? And encourage that child to be the relational person and pick up kids who are saying, my parents are fighting, I feel like committing suicide. All that goes on in the school now, as you know. So make the classroom a little therapy or detection, a little place of compassion, but to motivate teachers for this. Once they see the thing, that they spend more time with children than parents, they come around. You need a little time, they come around. So I have done programs like, you know that the best school is in Mount Lavinia. St. Thomas's College, yeah, that's my school, so we think it's the best school. Anyway, I have done this in many schools. Generally, they understand that if you are a little pastoral kind of thing in your classroom, you can pick up the issue. Then I have told every school, at least 2 to 3 teachers to be trained properly to take on this kind of counseling, because I can't counsel endlessly. So each school can have, say, primary school a teacher, middle school a teacher, upper school a teacher, who comes for my lectures, and I can update them with little clips I do now. Even this I can send to some of the teachers on my list. And they have a continual sense of being upgraded, upskilled, and teachers can't avoid this problem, schools can't avoid this problem, because medicine can't heal. Pharmaceuticals will only make it worse. And no doctor takes 40 minutes for any consultation. But the teacher has an automatic consultation for 40 minutes, certainly with 35 kids. But the teacher is doing this daily, and some teachers may have 2 periods in one day. So I really feel the salvific, redemptive community in this problem are the teachers. And my experience is that teachers still have a honor and a calling for their teaching profession. Whereas doctors get very hurried, and think the drugs can do anything, but there are exceptions. So when I feel a boy or a girl needs a little psychiatric attention, I send to Prof. Shahan Williams, he's my student, and he will be careful. They and Dr. Lalin Fernando also, both of them don't prescribe excessively. They will sit and give a little counsel and so on. And Sri Lanka lacks clinical psychologists, that is those who are trained but don't use drugs, but sit and counsel and find out the problem and things like that. So that discipline has to be developed. Then the personality issues that come up are obsessive compulsive behaviors, because the screen behaves properly. Screen is very predictable. So kids become perfectionists. You must be like the screen, and no parent is like the screen, no teacher is like the screen. So they are perfectionists, demanding perfectionism. Then they can't face up to failure, because the game you must win. And game is programmed to give you that amount of wins, and again you're on a program. Life is not a program like that. So any exam failure, sports failure, they take it personally. So you can see the spate of kids who are trying to commit suicide before exams, before results come, when they face a failure. Another angle that has come from this is, when girls and boys are dopamine high, romance doesn't work. So, as I was explaining earlier, let's say the meal time, oxytocin is the bonhomie and the desire to converse, have a chat and get to know. Then we have serotonin, which is the reward motive. Then we have GABA, gamma-amino butyric acid. GABA is the empathy thing. So when kids are falling asleep, GABA works. So I always tell parents, catch that time of them falling asleep, be with them, sing a hymn, sing a song, ask them what happened. So when the digital screen has dumbed all that, they don't think of romance even when they come to that age. So when we were going to school, the problem was boys running behind girl buses. That's not the case now. So it has gone in different ways, so that when boys think of a physical thing, it's a dopamine thing. Do it and ditch. So they'll abuse themselves. Then it'll get into homosexual things. So lots of schools have a huge problem that they have to have CCTV cameras just outside washroom, best of schools in Colombo. And girls' schools have got worse, because when girls have no hope of romance, they try to look after themselves. And even when two people come together, you know how it goes, it's dirty photographs and it's for abuse and it's not that self-giving sense of what God designed as romance. The digital screen has completely ruined it. So these are some of the things that secular therapists don't think. But since I am God-based, I always think like that, and it has actually helped my practice to engage the problem deeper and meaningfully. So the obsessive compulsive behavior, perfectionist behavior, then that romance thing has got completely skewed and got distorted. Then comes a suicide ideation. It comes in different ways. Stressed, perfectionist, I can't afford to fail, I better commit suicide, that is understandable. There's a far more subtle thing. They get into little cliques and only 5 or 6 are in the know. And they are now highly digitized. They have tried different digital games, then climb the highest place in the city. So that's also a pact. And then they set a date who will do the jump first. And then they give a farewell party. Now normally people who are contemplating suicide are depressed, very angry, there's a reason for it. This is not like that. This is a quiet journey towards the high climax of. So there were 4 such. Thankfully, the 5th one came with the parents. So I sat and explained, and those 2 parents wisely did whatever she asked. She comes from school and she's completely by herself with music and her digital friends. But they will always say, darling, shall we go out to eat? And kept the child engaged. So when 4 out of 6 in the clique did it, the parents came and then we were managed to, over a couple of times, to get them out of this thinking. So that suicide ideation is very secretive. They give a farewell party also. Some children don't know why this came. So those are some of the that they don't keep jobs and they are very fussy and things like that. Those are more what shall I say, they are not as dangerous as this. Yeah. But anything else that you like to ask me?
Also this excessive screen addiction, it also leads to other mental disorders as well.
Depression.
Even like autism.
Yeah, there's a doubt on that. There's a possibility that very young a child on the screen is on the screen by himself. That is autism-like behavior. Now, quite a bit of scientific proof is there that ADHD is largely screen-based. The real autism is a spectrum, so you call it ASD, autism spectra of diseases, that being by yourself and wanting to do by yourself is part of the screen kind of effect. I can't scientifically say that classical autism is caused by the screen. Certainly, a mother's digital life, then parental conflict, all that contributes to the autism spectrum also. ADHD is more understandable. So that is why, however, even ADHD or a child who is showing autism features must be put on puzzles, Montessori methods, a trainer getting him to come out of his shell to do the things he likes to do. So if they are not going to a normal class, they must have activity center where they will do the things they like to do and increase the things they like to do, so get their brain tracks into coordination. Yeah.